Tony Ferguson's next fight got accidentally revealed, and it is not with the UFC. After losing 7 fights, it seems like Tony Ferguson and the promotion have cut ties. Watch till the end of the video to get the whole scoop, but first let's break down the latest in MMA news. Starting off with Logan Paul and Conor McGregor being off. Like, this fight is apparently not happening anymore. We obviously heard the rumors for a while Logan Paul, Conor McGregor is going to happen. Well, Logan Paul officially announced that he is not down to fight Conor McGregor, that this is a fight that he's no longer interested in, citing his love for WWE as a reason. Logan Paul made a comment at WWE Raw saying, "I've been so good at this now. I'm dedicating my life to this. No more side hustle, no more bullshit, 100% WWE." Which means if you're one of the 5 people that were actually excited for this fight, today's a terrible day for you, because it looks like that, yeah, Logan Paul is not into this fight anymore. And it makes sense. Obviously, look, I've been saying for a while, Logan Paul should not even box anymore. He has not looked good in literally any of his fights. He lost to KSI, went 6 rounds with Dylan Dennis and couldn't finish him despite having a huge weight advantage and experience advantage over Dylan Dennis. But what I'm curious about is this: does Conor McGregor still fight in India in a boxing match against somebody, or does this die, right? Does he go up against Jake? Obviously, Jake is an option. We know the Albani family wanted Jake originally, or maybe even a KSI. We've seen Conor McGregor call out KSI multiple times in the past.
I'll fight him for that bullshit song he released alone. I'll fight him for that fucking song alone.
But in my opinion, I think that this means we are not going to see Conor McGregor box after this. I think if it's not Logan, it's nobody, because I can't think of a name that would even be worth it for Conor McGregor to fight. Logan Paul is a big name, and not only is he a big name, he has a good relationship with Dana White in the UFC, so it would have really worked out for him. So I think this means that we're going to see Conor McGregor's next fight in MMA probably at the end of the year, if we're even going to see him this year. But also, the UFC Seattle card got announced. The main event is set to be Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong, with the co-main event being Dominic Cruz and Rob Font. I'm going to show you guys the full card, but first let me give you guys my thoughts. I think Song Yadong is going to retire Henry Cejudo, guys. Song Yadong is good himself. He has good takedown defense, has been really working on his wrestling, but also has good knockout power. And I think that Henry Cejudo, especially across 5 rounds, we've seen him struggle to take down guys repeatedly over and over again and just look way worse. Like, now he's over the age of 35 with like 2 or 3 losses in a row now. I think Song Yadong is going to be the younger guy, the faster guy. I think he's going to win this. But for Dominic Cruz and Rob Font, this is a good fight, not the Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz fight that we all wanted. Don't know why we're never going to get this for some reason, but this fight seems like a fair fight for Cruz. You know, Rob Font is older himself. Like, this isn't exactly a fresh young contender that Dominic Cruz has to fight. This is a totally fair fight. I think that Dominic Cruz can win this. I am kind of right now leaning towards Rob Font, but I'm not sure yet. You could see the other main card fights featuring Edson Barboza and Steve Garcia. Gene Silva also fighting Melsik Beghasharan. Another good fight in Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. Michael Chiesa also on the card. You could see in the prelims as well, like fights like Curtis Blades, Revan Cunha. Yeah, there's a lot of good fights. I mean, this is one of the first times we've gotten a fully actually good fight night card, so I'm actually excited to see this card now. Like, this is a pretty stacked card. Even the prelims have some good fights. Rashad Evans and Rampage Jackson also are in talks for a boxing match. The date is yet to be confirmed, but it will be taking place this year, and this is going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, taking place with ICS Mania. This is some sort of influencer promotion I think that they got going on. They're gonna have their first event later this year. I mean, I don't mind the fight. Both guys are a bit older, and obviously they had that rivalry all the way back in the day, but it's just becoming so cheap seeing these like old guys have these boxing matches, I gotta say. Dana White also joined the board of directors for Meta. Meta, of course, being the parent company that owns Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg and Dana White have been very close for the past year or so, with Mark's love for MMA just growing. This is apparently so Dana White could learn AI, you know, through the business and actually go on the inside and also give some, I guess, feedback to Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know what kind of feedback he would be giving Mark, but just weird and interesting, and I'm not really sure what the whole purpose of this is. UFC 3 servers are also shutting down. It was announced that on February 17th, the servers will be closed, which means you cannot play online. You can't play against other people. This is arguably the best game in the UFC EA series, with UFC 4 and UFC 5 just kind of falling flat, and this is like the last game you could actually use multiple elbows when you're ground and pounding. So maybe if you haven't played the game already, it's worth taking a look. UFC 312 poster also got announced, and I gotta say, this is a much better poster than we have seen in the past. A lot better than the UFC 304 poster. Like, that has to be the worst poster in UFC history, guys. Alex Pereira also posted some training footage of him training with the Fighting Nerds. You can see Kyle Brahalo there with Alex Pereira. We've seen what happens when guys train with Alex Pereira. They just get better. And finally, Tony Ferguson. We have seen this guy, you know, the ups and downs of his career, from being on an unbelievable 12-fight winning streak to losing his last 7 or so fights. It has not been good for Tony Ferguson, and as a big Tony Ferguson fan myself, it's been hard these past years, I gotta say, seeing Tony Ferguson lose over and over and over again. But Tony Ferguson, we last saw he fought Michael Chiesa and seemed to imply that he probably was was going to retire, put his glove down and said, look, that he was going to keep one glove just in case he doesn't retire. And that just in case became a legit thing, because it turns out Tony Ferguson is probably not retired and is in talks to have another fight. And it is apparently not going to be with the UFC, right? Which means that maybe the UFC had cut ties with Tony Ferguson. Maybe Tony Ferguson even cut ties with them, seeing that Tony has threatened in the past and said, look, he's willing to leave the UFC. He's willing to fight for other promotions. He's willing to fight in boxing. I'm gonna reveal who he's apparently going to fight next, but these are the rumors, guys. So here's what's happening. GFL obviously is a new MMA promotion that got announced about a month ago or so with a laughable roster. I've talked about this in a past video. This is a terrible roster of people, just the most washed up people. Cain Velasquez recently got signed. Like, when's the last time that guy even fought? Like, they have legends on the roster, of course, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but it's just like clearly not guys in their prime, clearly just trying to feed off the UFC's names. And we've talked about this. You're not going to grow a promotion that way. But it turns out Kevin Lee accidentally revealed this info in an interview with Ariel Helwani today, because apparently Kevin Lee has been offered to fight Tony Ferguson in a rematch.
Heard a couple names tossed around. The one that interests me the most is Tony Ferguson.
Ooh.
You know, I think Tony,
is he with them?
He's had his ups and downs in his career, but we've had a great fight for the UFC championship, and I think that's something that a lot of people can get behind, and that's a fight that I really want. So April 4th is the first event.
So is Ferguson with GFL, or are you trying to, like, is there talks of them signing him to fight you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in talks with him.
Yeah, that's right. We might actually see Kevin Lee versus Tony Ferguson. Now, this is a little bit more of an even fight. Obviously, Kevin Lee, he's been losing a lot lately. His last UFC fight, he lost in the first, I believe, minute or so. And they fought once before. They fought in Las Vegas. If you will recall, that was the same weekend as that Las Vegas mass shooting that happened. And then Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, they were in the main event for the interim lightweight title. Had a good back and forth, but Tony Ferguson overall won and ended the fight in a triangle choke, finishing Kevin Lee, I believe, in like the third round or something like that. So there is a lot of history there that could support a potential rematch. So what are my thoughts? Look, I don't think that Tony Ferguson should be fighting. I've always been saying this. I think he is such a talented grappler. He should go into jiu-jitsu. He should go into the grappling field, especially with the stuff that the UFC has been wanting to do with grappling. This is a perfect time for a guy like Tony Ferguson to get into the grappling space, especially with UFC's new obsession with promoting grappling. On the UFC Fight Pass, they want to have their own promotion. They already signed Mikey Musumeci. Imagine a Tony Ferguson, Mikey Musumeci match. Like, that would be crazy. But I'd much prefer that than MMA. At the end of the day, especially if he's going to leave the UFC, like, it's not even worth it for Tony Ferguson. I'm not even saying here that he can't beat Kevin Lee. It's just that at this point, like, what's the point? Like, this isn't going to help your legacy. But I think if Tony Ferguson was going to go down another path, a jiu-jitsu path, this might actually help reinvent himself and would definitely add credibility to him, and this would help his legacy. Like, if he goes on to have a good jiu-jitsu career afterwards, which, look, he does have good jiu-jitsu, and he would most importantly take no more damage. He's taken a lot of damage in his career, and like I said, I have tons of respect for Tony Ferguson, so I'm not trying to trash him at all. But man, I just do not want to see him lose to Kevin Lee. Like, that would be very unfortunate. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.